boop, 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 bobbing along.
Hi, we're Stuart and Emmie, and we're child-free after infertility. So we decided to change our life plans and moved on to a narrowboat. We're sharing our adventures here, and you're welcome to join us.
Good morning. Hey, get up. We've got a Q&A to film. And toast is ready.
Okay.
So what's our first question?
Well, Gail Ponder asks, where did you two meet and how long have you been together? Are there any wedding plans in the future?
Well, first one, how did we meet? We met at university. We lived in the same halls of residence. There was a communal lounge in our halls, and we met there where everyone would just sort of meet up and drink and mess around. And we started really getting to know each other when Stu was eating chicken in that lounge and saw me looking hungry and fed me.
This is all true.
So yeah, that was about 20 years ago. And we are already married and have been married for about 14 years this year. So yeah.
Second wedding though, maybe.
No. No.
The next question is from Rue's Life, and it's, what's your best and worst memory/experience as liveaboard boaters?
It's hard to pick a best because there's been so many really, really lovely ones. Definitely some of my favourite memories are always when you have a slightly tricky cruise, but then you end up in a really beautiful spot. Worst... breaking down in Berkhamsted is probably still one of the worst. If I was going to pick an absolute worst moment in terms of terror, it probably would have been when I nearly sunk the boat by not putting the weed hatch back on properly in Kings Langley. That was pretty worst. And realising while we were in a lock that something was wrong.
Okay, the engine bay is full of water. Is it still coming in?
So my worst is the same as Stu's. Definitely when the weed hatch cover wasn't on properly and we nearly sank the boat in a lock. And best, I mean, also kind of the same. The whole experience is so amazing. Everything feels like the best. Like, I mean, just the freedom of everything and being close to nature and seeing different places and just lovely times with friends and going for beautiful walks, and I can't really single anything out. I'm just loving the whole experience in general.
Another question from Rue's Life. Is there anything you wish you'd known before you moved aboard?
A little more about engines. No, not massively. We researched fairly well. I kind of knew a bit about engines, but not a huge amount. I guess I kind of knew the fundamentals.
Short answer is kind of no. I don't feel like we were really discombobulated by anything, like massively. It was all just learn as we go and it was fine. But one thing is I didn't know, and I don't know, I'm kind of glad I didn't know because it might have been too off-putting, but how quickly a cassette toilet fills up and how heavy they are when you're taking them to empty them. That was a bit of a shock, but maybe for the best I didn't know that, to be honest.
These are potatoes. Russ asks, where does the boop 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 bobbing along come from?
Well, we're called Bobbing Along because Stu's nickname is Bobson. sounds like our surname. So we were thinking of like a name for the channel that was like a play on bobbing. And when I searched bobbing along on YouTube, it came up with a song from the old Disney film Bedknobs and Broomsticks.
It's lovely bobbing along.
I'll link it. But basically, boop 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 is just like filler words when I don't know the word. So I was sort of singing the bobbing along song and just filling in with boop boop boops.
Piracy!
Both Rue and Claire ask, is there anything we'd change about the boat?
I wouldn't have a door that's made out of MDF as our main engine bay door. Not massively in the grand scheme, no. I mean, I think there's like one or two little layout things that I do a little different, but they're really minor. Like, I think our dinette takes up quite a lot of room for something that only two people can sit at, and we don't even really use properly anyway.
Speak for yourself.
The sofa sort of is a bit big and useless, but it does allow a lot of storage under it and around it, so it's not too bad. But it's really minor stuff, and it's stuff that will probably change over the coming years anyway. So apart from the dinette, that's as it is.
Yeah, no, the same. I love the layout of the boat. There's nothing really that I'd change except maybe the sofa thing, because it comes across quite far into like the floorway, so there's very little space, and I do yoga in that space, and I have to really adapt what I'm doing. Like, I can't do a reclined twist there properly and things, and it does feel like we could gain a little bit of space.
Yeah.
But otherwise, no. I guess partially we don't have experience of living on the boat in a different setup or anything different to what it is, because yeah, I've just come in and fallen in love with it as it is, and I'm pretty much happy with everything as it is. I initially, when we moved in, thought, oh, I'd rather have like a walk-in shower than having a bath.
Yeah.
And then having storage next to it. But actually, it's quite useful having a bath. For like when you're doing like hand washing and stuff, or larger amounts of hand washing, or want to drip things like dripping coats hanging above that. Yeah, I don't know. I get used to things, I think. Nothing would really change.
I think likewise, I'd additionally, when we moved in, I thought that actually having like a corridor past the bathroom would have been better, but now I'm used to it and I like having more space in the bathroom. So again, happy with the overall bulk layout of the boat.
Maybe the only thing, and I hesitate to say this so close to the engine in case she hears me, but maybe a more standard engine might have been good, that's easier to learn about and maintain and get parts for, because our engine is quite, because it's a marinized engine, it is not very common and it's just a little bit tricky, I think. But when it's working, it's great, and that's what came with Annie, and that's Annie's heart, so...
Yeah, she's absolutely going wrong on our next cruise now, though. Thanks for that. There we go. We have one working engine bay door again.
We never explained that was broken. It was just...
The engine bay door fell off. It was coming off for a couple of weeks, and it chose today to fully fall off. So... Raintown asked us, do we plan ahead where we're going to moor, or do we just go with the flow? And is there anywhere on the network that we'd really like to visit?
I think it's a mix. We go with the flow more or less, but there is also an element of planning. Like, we've got an overall goal to get to Sheffield over the next year, And then, we might have times we need to be in a certain place at a certain time, like if family is visiting, or if we need to hire a car, we need to be near a car rental place. So there's sort of elements of planning. Most of the time we're just sort of moving along, happy to more wherever. But then if we're meeting people, we want to be near somewhere that's accessible.
Yeah.
Or it depends on like how much laundry we need to do and like access to services. Like if we need to empty the toilets, we want to moor somewhere nearer services. But there's always the understanding that there might not be room, and we're just sort of playing it by ear, really.
I think our favourite moorings is being sort of a little bit in the middle of nowhere, but you have to balance a little bit because we don't have a car. We do have to balance a little bit of town time in, and also we quite like towns. We quite like exploring towns. It just it's nice being in the middle of nowhere as well.
Yeah, I mean, I like being in a city. Obviously, I'm still a London girl, really. Yeah, I like the mix.
But yeah, I mean, we have got a goal. We're not quite sure how long we're going to stay there for, because that's going to be probably a bit fluid, like most things, boat life wise. And then we have got other places that we want to go to as well. So you're quite keen to go onto the Kennet and Avon at some point, I think. I'm potentially quite keen to go around the sort of like Ouse and Cam navigation. But I'd also
want to go to London.
I would like to go to London, go back to London.
And I'm actually really looking forward to the Peak Forest, which is coming up for us soon once we get to the end of the Macclesfield.
I think the other one that I'd quite like to do is, there's a couple of like little extremities that I'd quite like to do, but I don't know when we would get to do them. One of them is the Lancaster arm, and the other is the little the York arm. I can't remember what it actually is. I think it's a river. But yeah, they both feel quite remote, because I guess they're a bit hard to get to. And there's something quite exciting about that, about them feeling a bit unexplored, even though they're not. But it feels remote to me anyway.
Oh, and this is news to me. I didn't know about this, and I've never thought about it. It's just so far in the future. I kind of look at the guides and I'm only thinking about the stuff that's coming up soon, really. I haven't really thought too much about other places on the network as of yet, because everything's still so exciting at the moment and we've hardly been anywhere. Hey Stu.
Hello.
Tuxedo Tales asks, how were you both able to get jobs you enjoy so much? Have you had other jobs in the past, or have these always been what you've done?
I've been building guitars for about 7 years professionally. I generally have had work alongside, so like some sort of full-time or part-time paid employment. And then I think a couple of years into building guitars and working was when we found out about my infertility diagnosis, and I really struggled with working for a few years after finding out. And one thing other than Emmie that got me through, I think, was having this space to go to in my workshop and just forget about other stuff and just pour my creativity into a piece of wood. I was going through depression at the time, but I don't think I realised it. But yeah, I think I've struggled with work, because I think finding out that your life's not going to be how you always expected it to be suddenly makes it real hard to sell overpriced wardrobes, which is what I was doing at the time. Everything just felt so pointless. So I think gradually I started working more and more just on SBC. I did work briefly as a carer, and that was amazing, but also very, very, very difficult. But yeah, I think just having something that I can throw my creativity into, even though it doesn't make that much money, and the fact that, you know, I will fully admit I was in a really fortunate position because you were doing quite a well-paid job at the time, so I didn't need to bring in a huge amount of extra money for us to have a moderately comfortable life at the time. And as it stands, probably going to have to get another part-time job once we get settled, but it's just really nice at the moment as well to have this time to throw back into doing this.
Me getting back into my art is relatively new. I studied printed textiles and surface design at university. I didn't manage to get a job afterwards, and a lot of people would start by working for free and doing an internship and things. I just couldn't afford to do that, and I wanted to stay in London. And I was keen to just start earning money, and I was really, fixed and preparing to have a family. So I just started working, and I worked in retail and then in the NHS as a receptionist, and eventually, ironically enough, started working in a fertility lab, which is where I was for about 10 years, getting more responsibility as the years went by. But then during lockdown, I started drawing again and realised how much I missed being creative. And I was really lucky. I don't know, I just was drawing and sharing it on Instagram, and then people started buying some and taking an interest, and it just felt really, really wonderful. And it was something I hadn't realised was missing. And now that we're on the boat without a mortgage and without rent, and I'd built up some savings, I feel like it felt, and we decided to relocate to Sheffield, so it felt like the right time to take this time while we're relocating to just really throw myself into my art. And so I am doing just that at the moment. It was probably a bit too soon to leave my job, but because the relocating sort of forced the issue in a way, and I'll probably be looking for part-time work once we get into a more settled location, when we get closer to Sheffield as well, because it doesn't bring in a lot, but I feel very, very lucky to have this time right now. I'm so grateful, and I'm just trying to enjoy every minute and make the most of it all and get better and better at what I'm doing, I hope. What?
Irene Pickering asks, do we both work full-time from the boat, or do we still go to the London sometimes?
To the London?
Yeah.
This leads on nicely from the previous question, because we're both working full-time, self-employed from the boat at the moment, but there is still occasional London trips because of preparing. Stu's workshop is still in the London. Sorry. And a lot of my work is still centred around Tottenham, so I have still done occasional markets and pop-up events in Tottenham. So we go back, and Stu's family is also nearish London, so we sort of tie all of that in together, and we've been doing occasional London trips, tying in with family visits, and we hire a car usually to do that because of all the stuff that's required. Many guitars.
Many.
I actually found it really difficult to leave my full-time employed job, which is why I didn't really mention it when I left, other than just saying it's my last day in the office today. So that's why I didn't really feel comfortable talking about it, because I had a lot of feelings about it. But I'm feeling good now and ready for whatever the future holds, knowing that I am
chasing my dreams, I guess.
Hey Bobson,
Yes.
Steffi Doll asks, what's been the biggest surprise about boat life?
All the muddy towpaths.
Has that been a surprise?
That it's not particularly cold in the winter.
Oh, did that surprise you?
No, it didn't.
Oh,
I think the thing that surprised me the most was how well you took to it.
me?
You, because we've talked about it before. I always assumed I would take to it pretty well, but I never actually thought about aspects of it that I wouldn't take to so well, or things that I maybe just needed to give a little bit of thought to, whereas I think you actually gave it a bit more thought, and I was so worried about how well you would take to it in a way, and you took to it amazingly, really. And yeah, and I think there was a few things that I hadn't thought about that I struggled with. That's probably
Such
the
as?
thing. Like,
Oh, sorry.
genuinely, like leaving London, things like that. I was sort of swept up with not wanting to live there. I didn't think about how we were going to get further away from London, and going back there would be a treat. I guess that's one of the more surprising things. I think one of the other things I would say that's maybe surprised me a bit is how well I've taken to like the engine maintenance side of things. And I think that's more out of a position of just not wanting to spend money and go through the hassle of trying to get someone out every time something goes slightly weird with the engine, when in fact more often than not I found I can go in there and tighten a few things and that strange rattle goes away. Yeah. And what has surprised you?
Probably just what you said, actually, that I took to it so well. I honestly went into this so much research, and I was fully prepared to maybe be making a big mistake. I didn't know if I would like it. And it really took me by surprise how much I absolutely love it. I love the freedom of moving around, and I can't believe I can drive the boat now. I can't believe it. Also, same thing I said I think earlier, I was very surprised by how quickly a cassette toilet fills up and how heavy it is. Nothing has surprised me more than that. But also, engines are really complicated. I knew it was pretty complicated, but I thought I'd be able to get my head around it a bit quicker than I have, and I've actually really struggled, because I look down and I'm just like, oh, look at the alien robot, I can't make head or tail of it, and I'm so impressed that Stu's just like, oh yes, bibbity bobbity boo, I know what I'm doing with this engine, it's not just a weird robot insides, which is what I see. I'm just like, oh, it's like, I don't know, like someone's opened up our boat and there's her organs and it's all like, whoa, to me.
Emmy, Boat Time ask, what is your proudest moment, or our proudest moment?
I think learning to drive the boat for me, because it was just such a big fear. And I guess next stage is getting back to driving a car, because that's another big fear. But yeah, I'm really, really proud of being able to handle the boat now. Still a little bit more confidence to gain, I think, and a bit more practice, but yeah, that's the thing I'm proudest of, really.
Stu,
Yes.
Jemmy Jam asks, if you could visit any country in the world on the boat, where would you go?
I have a realistic answer and a silly answer. My silly answer is Malaysia, because you could never, or maybe Vietnam, because it would be really tricky and impractical to get a narrowboat there. But wouldn't it be cool to go around, like, particularly with Vietnam, to go around some of the waterways there in a narrowboat? My realistic answer would be maybe somewhere like Amsterdam, because I feel like that would be much more doable. I don't know why I feel like that, because it's probably still really tricky, but I also think it would be amazing to go around some of the canals of Amsterdam in a narrowboat.
So I would love to go to Portugal. I've wanted to go for years and years, and still I've never been. The tiles, I want to see the cities. I want to eat custard tarts. I want to go to the coast and go to the beach, and I really want to go to Croatia as well. I've wanted to go to Croatia since I went to like an art thing in Venice, and I saw this art piece. It was about an art piece that's in a city in Croatia. I can't remember the name of the city, but I've got it written down somewhere. And basically it makes the sea play a musical instrument. Like the edge of the sea has these pipes in it or something, and as the tide comes in, the water hits these pipes and it plays this sort of weird haunting music. And then there's another piece nearby where lights sort of react to the actual sunset, I think. So I want to go see that, but then also I think the national parks there are just stunning if I look at the pictures. So yeah, Croatia and Portugal, that's where I would love to go.
So Boat Time have asked, if we were both a sandwich, what sandwich would we be? So I'm thinking, are we both the same sandwich, Stu?
I think we're
that's
probably
the
our own
question.
sandwich.
Oh, okay. I thought the question was if we were both one sandwich.
Oh.
I'm not sure. Can there be tomato in it? I want to be a tomato. I like tomatoes. I'm not sure how to answer the question, really. But I would like to eat tomatoes. So...
I think if I was my own sandwich, I would be something that seemed unpleasant at first but grew on you with time.
I don't think you seem unpleasant at first.
I think if we were a sandwich together, we would be something classic-ish.
Cheese, tomato and pickle.
Yeah, but with a slightly unusual twist, like a spicy pickle or something.
Cheese, tomato and hot pepper sauce.
Yeah, that probably is about right, to be fair. Emmy, Daniel Platt says, your drawings are ace, but do you have a background in art, and why buildings?
So I studied printed textiles quite a long time ago, had a long gap, and got back into drawing during lockdowns because I finally had some headspace and time to do it. And I think in a question earlier I've said how much that has been amazing. Buildings is because it was during lockdown. It was so basically during lockdown, Stu borrowed his parents' car and he was driving me to work when I needed to go to work, which was different to my usual commute where I had to take the tube. And I was just seeing all these buildings through the car window and just absolutely loving seeing all these buildings, seeing the shop fronts, seeing all the little details, the colours, the signage, or the stickers that got stuck up, posters, everything about it. And I just really wanted to draw them. And so that's why buildings. And now that we've been on the boat for a year or so, while I'm still obsessed with drawing buildings and drawing a lot of Tottenham, which is where we used to live before we moved on to the boat, I have started drawing more natural things and stuff I'm seeing along the canal, and hoping to bring a lot more nature and boatiness into my drawings soon.
Bob Burrier says, Emmy, your drawings are amazing. How can we see more? Maybe even at different stages of completion.
Firstly, thank you so much. And you can see finished drawings, most up to date on Instagram, instagram.com/EmmieJoannaDraws, or on my website, emmiejoanna.com. And I have an online shop as well.
Ro asks, do you advise moving from America to the UK as a trans person in their 30s who wants to canal boat and drive around the country for funsies? That's a big question.
Well, I do not feel qualified to give advice, but I would just say do lots of research and find out what you would need to do if you wanted to do it. There are definitely people in their 30s on the canal. We're in our 30s. There are trans people on the canal, and there are Americans on the canal. What I don't know about, and you would need to look into, is how much money you would need. It might be hard to get a job if you're continuously cruising, if you needed one. And like, I don't know what the visa stuff, there's lots of ins and outs that I would not know about.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of that might be difficult would be that you will need like a home address
For insurance and things.
Even,
so there could be complications. Yeah.
But in terms of fun,
Yeah.
we really enjoy it. It's a really nice community by and large.
It's not for everyone, but I think the main thing is just wanting to do it and being ready to deal with like lack of luxuries or like shortages of things and hard work. So as long as you're up for all that and you want to do this and you can afford to, sure. I hope that helps, because
Emmy, Rabbit asked when we will be coming to the Kennet and Avon.
Well, I suspect this might be a friend of mine from home who I call Rabbit, and if it is, hello. Probably in a couple of years. Really want to go to the Kennet and Avon, obviously, because I grew up near there, and we will head there eventually. Stu.
Yeah.
Nick Pete 150 wants to know what Warhammer you enjoy painting.
Oh, I most enjoy painting Genestealer cult guys because they've got too many arms. But more recently, I've really enjoyed making and painting my own models. This is a scarecrow I made.
Helen Lai asks, what is the best thing about living on Annie?
Freedom.
I agree. It's the end of the day and it's our last two questions. What are the questions, Stu?
Susie asks, where do you see yourself in 5 years' time? Still on Annie? Or do you have other plans? And Boho Boaters asked, do we see ourselves back on land in the future?
And the answer to, what, in 5 years' time? I don't know. It's just, that seems so distant.
I mean,
still on the boat. Yeah. In answer to that, and the boat side of things, I still see us on the boat in 5 years' time.
I think we both want to explore more, and I think we'll, but like also stop places along the way. So it works well for us. So I think we will still be on the boat. But
because we're heading to Sheffield now to spend more time with my gran, and we'll probably stop there for a bit, and before moving on to explore further. So in just thinking in those terms, in 5 years' time, we would still be on the boat.
Yeah.
So that's the intention. Would we ever move back onto land? Maybe. But it's not really something I'm thinking about right now.
I think there's a good chance that we will at some point, but how we will and where, when is very much up in the air. I think we both love boat life so much.
To the point where I feel almost like I would feel trapped,
Yeah.
like being stuck in one place.
Yeah. I think it'd have to be somewhere that we couldn't get to on the boat, for one thing, most likely.
Oh, I've already said to Stu before, but
Yeah.
we love Northumberland. Went there on holiday every year for a couple of years.
Like 3 or 4 years. Yeah.
So yeah, we'd be enticed back to land to live in Northumberland, I think. Thank you so much for watching. And thank you to everyone who participated and submitted a question for this video. We hope you've enjoyed the video. Throw us a boop in the comments or on the like button if you did. And we'll see you next week with a vlog.
Goodbye.
Good night. Ooh.
Am I going to punch the shelves?